everyone, welcome to the Moringa School podcast. My name is Melissa.
My name is Atieno, and we are just recent graduates in software development, and we just thought that this would be a good platform to discuss all things tech and what we can do in order to contribute to this large community in Kenya, in Africa, and to the whole world as just developers. Yeah.
So Michelle, when did you get interested in tech? What was your first interaction with technology, and what made you want to join Moringa School to learn how to do coding?
I'm basically a tomboy, let's just say that, and I've always been interested in just learning how to create things like games, and I basically worked in an entrepreneurial venture, and I guess I used to work around computers a lot, and I just wanted to get deep into it. And a few friends of mine also had gotten funding from a software that built, and they traveled outside the country and they got an education out of it also, and then when they came back they were better like business people, and that really motivated me, and I realized I had a passion definitely when I came to Moringa, and I did basic HTML, CSS, and I saw what I could do. And that's basically just what motivated me to go and just create these awesome websites.
I think for me, I've always had an interest in technology. But I used to work with like Squarespace and Shopify, building templates, building websites using templates. But I never really understood the logic and the functionality behind all these amazing templates. So that's what got me interested. I used to do like front end styling, even using WordPress, just playing around, trying to understand HTML, CSS. But I think around May of this year, I decided, let me just join Moringa, see how the first 5 weeks go. And then, 20 weeks later, I can comfortably say I'm a software developer. And that makes me so happy, just knowing that I've achieved one of my goals for 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So where do you think you'd make the most impact as a developer?
As a developer? Well, I'm very interested in data science. So I come from an economics background. That's what I studied at university. So just, the nexus between technology, data, and statistics, that gets me very excited. I love visualizing data, analyzing it. It's just, working with information, I think is the future, especially if you're a small company, a big company, any type of industry, health, education, even software itself. Data is very important. So that's why I see myself being of impact and purpose, especially data-driven decision-making for good. How about you?
I could say the same thing. I basically wanted to see how data can be used to affect maybe a market, especially when you even go to a basic thing like a supermarket. You see those places, they use maybe a programming language like Python to analyze how they can set up their businesses. And I think just playing around with those numbers can tell you a lot about how you can structure a business. And I think I also have a desire to connect customers to, let's say, employers and customers to businesses and stuff like that. So I'd like to make it easier in the business world, to make it easier for customers to reach clients, customers to reach the products that they want or the services that they want.
And what trends are you seeing taking place specifically in technology or in Nairobi, where we're based? What do you see is happening or not happening enough and needs to start happening?
What is not happening? I can start there. I think there needs to be like more conferences where we get to know what's happening in this software development world, software engineering world, because I think there's a lot of secrecy in what's going on. I don't know, that's just how I feel, but I think that we need more conferences where developers can come together, showcase what they can do, and we also need to, I think, create spaces where we can support each other as software developers.
Actually, one thing that I really have enjoyed about the Moringa School experience is when I used to code, I used to do it in isolation. So if you encounter an error, you sort of just forget about it or not try and solve it at all because you're doing it alone. But then coming here, I feel like I've graduated with a team of 40 developers.
Yeah.
So just knowing that even once you've graduated, you already have a network that you built. I think it helps in terms of, I guess, just being more out there. You know, someone telling you about an event that's coming up, or if there's a conference, as you said, or a forum, knowing that, I can go with Michelle, or I can go with someone else from my class or the class before that. That's what I really love about the Moringa School experience. And also moving forward, I mean, I think it's good to push yourself and put yourself out there. Remember we had this experience where we went for an open day for Andela, and we we didn't even have tickets, I remember, but just showing up. You know, and then they say that 80% of success comes from showing up. So just being present. Sometimes even when you don't have a ticket, just being there. Maybe that person one person decided not to come, and you can end up taking up their spot or their seat. I think showing up is key.
And I think also even in those job applications where you see like 20 requirements where you need to apply and you don't have them all, just apply. Don't even think, just apply. Especially for us as entry level developers, they don't expect you to know everything. So just apply. Be confident, practice those behavioral questions, those technical problems, and then maybe as an entry developer, you can say that, okay, when I go into this, I know that I can learn A, B, C, D in like 2 weeks, even if you don't have the requirements. But just go on and apply for those jobs that you think that you can get, but don't just stay stagnant.
And it's something interesting that Sheryl Sandberg talks about in her book, Lean In.
Wow, you've already read it.
Bits.
Okay.
Bits, just bits. That, when it comes to women, women usually apply for positions or roles when they feel that they've met 100% of the requirements, or close to 100%. But men, even when they reach or qualify for 60% of what is required, they'll still go ahead and apply. So I feel like even as a woman in tech, what's your experience been like? Do you feel like, or sometimes I have to check all the boxes? Because that happens to me sometimes.
Most definitely.
Especially since we've finished. We've learned Python and JavaScript, a bit of Angular. But you'll find that a lot of the job requirements, especially at entry level, require you to know Java, Go, Scala, so all these things that take a bit of time to pick up. Yes, you can learn Java, in a few weeks, but being really good at something also takes time. So what's your experience been like?
So I'm still I haven't gotten a job, but when I go out there applying, like there's this one event that we went for, there's this, the technical recruiter for Africa is Talking, he said that basically on the interview process, you go through like maybe 3 interviews or something, and then there's a technical interview. They just want to see like how you think through a problem, how you break it down into small bits, and how you arrive at the solution. So they don't expect you to know like, so let's say Africa is Talking is using Scala, and you haven't even interacted with it before, but when you go through that interview, you maybe when you pass that technical interview, now they give you like time to like learn Scala, maybe 2 weeks like this, and then maybe after that process you can get in, but you don't have to know the language that the company is using. They can, through the interview process, they can just like scope you out and see how you think through a problem, and then maybe you can get through. But I think that as an entry developer, I'm conscious that I don't know everything, but at the same time, I'm not going there not knowing anything.
Exactly, that's a really good point. And speaking of, companies like Africa's Talking, in Nairobi's tech scene, there are a lot of startups, which is amazing because you get to immerse yourself in, I guess, all aspects of managing a business. So you don't just come in as an entry-level developer. Sometimes you're expected to carry out some managerial responsibilities. So do you have any experience in working for startups? And what advice would you give someone who is just entering the job market? Or because you've also worked before you started coding. So what was your experience like? And are there any tips that you'd have?
Maybe people say things like culture fit. Just try working in a team. Those things are very important, especially as a software developer. So even in Moringa we did a few team projects. So I could say I enjoyed the experience, of course, but in a real life situation where I'm working on a real life project, I'd like to see how I do that because I haven't done that yet. But even as I'm applying to these jobs, I'm going to a place where I feel like I can add value the most and where it also aligns with what I also want to do. So I'm just not going for any job that, okay, they're doing this and me, I don't align with. I'm going to a place where I feel like, okay, this is what I also have passion for and I can add value to it. And I think just going to a place where you know you can add value, but also don't even just section yourself out. Just apply for everything, but at the same time go to a place where you know your interests align.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I think for me, again, just also coming from a non-technical background, I love being able to apply both, my coding skills, my software development skills, as well as, things to do with marketing, business development, strategy.
Your soft skills, basically.
Yeah, creativity. Yeah. So I think I would enjoy working for a startup. Again, we're both in the process of applying for different jobs and eventually we will get the offers, but startups are definitely a place where you can learn a lot. And who knows, maybe one day you can also start your own business or find a problem in the market that you feel you can provide a solution for. So so Michelle, what tools do you use to sharpen your skills?
YouTube. Number one is YouTube. YouTube has all the resources that you need. Any language that you want to learn, I think YouTube is the best. Personally for me, because I like the visual aspect of it. But let's say for a language like Django, you have like all the documentation that you need. Basically, all the frameworks that you learn, you can get all the documentation online, and resources like Udemy, Codecademy, Pluralsight. Man, there's so many. I could say, and for maybe your technical skills, you can use like Code Wars. And there was this that we were told the other day. What's the name?
Project Euler.
That one. Yeah. Project Euler. That one is a bit hard and advanced, but you can start with like Code Wars. So I think those are the tools that you can use to like learn more and sharpen your skill.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking about sharpening your skills and constantly practicing, do you experience imposter syndrome? Sometimes you feel like, am I really a coder? Am I really, you look at other people's projects or what people have done, what senior developers are doing, and you start to question yourself or question why you're doing it?
Of course, all the time, because sometimes you can take on a project and you're like, can I really do this? But I think that just, I don't know, basically believing in yourself and just trying to up your confidence by actually tackling the problem. Being a software developer is all about solving problems. Exactly. So that is what should just, it should actually motivate you that you have a problem, basically. Just tackle it with all the energy that you have. Don't let a problem take you down. That's the motto as a software developer. You can't let the problem take you down. You have to take it down.
And in terms of solving a problem, what problem do you see that, or what problems do we have in Nairobi, in Kenya, in Africa specifically, or more generally, that you feel that we can solve using technology?
Using technology. Basically, as you can see, a lot of government institutions like, let's say, KRA, the Kenya Revenue Authority, they started using like online payment systems for people paying tax. Although it goes down sometimes, but I think that they've started it. So online payment systems for like salaries, for maybe if you go to a restaurant, you can actually pay for your meal, taxis, everything right now it's using an online payment system. I think that online payment systems are a big thing. Education, obviously, tools that help kids learn better. I think maybe I'd want to get into that also, just to see how we can improve on our education system. Also health every other day. Everyone gets sick every other day, and there's always a new infection that's coming up. So we all need information on health and how we can better our health system, I can say. And what about you? What do you think?
Definitely. I think something that's interesting for me is the census that's taking place next year.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see if there are any open source projects,
data,
data collection. So I feel like, you know, for developers, especially Kenyan developers out there, solutions around the census happening next year, because it happens every 10 years.
Yeah.
So just trying to get yourself involved or to innovate, creatively in that sort of area would be interesting.
Very interesting.
You know, if anyone's listening and they'd love to contribute in any way, it's something that I feel like we can all sort of get our hands on.
And you can also tell us like where to get such information and how we can, you know, contribute to such a project. Because census is it's a big thing.
Yeah. Okay, and also in terms of, we're just talking about imposter syndrome. One thing that I personally experienced when we were studying at Moringa was, you're coding every day from 8 to 6. And, the only sort of break you get is maybe lunchtime and either before class or after class. So trying to manage your health and your diet, fueling your mind through whatever you're consuming. How do you sort of manage your health, not just your mental health, but your physical health? Because you'll find that we wake up very early, we sleep very late. So trying to exercise or really control what you take, there's like fries across the street. So are you really going to think about, should I have some green vegetable juice? It's not practical every single day. So how do you keep track of your health?
Of course I do, because without this body I can't even code. So
exactly.
So basically what I do is plan my week very well, and I don't always, let's say, get through the week having done 100% of the things that I've planned for, but I try to just keep a healthy balance of me coming to Moringa and also me being at home. So I try to do things that I also love outside of code, like cooking, like tending to my little garden, and things like those. But I also drink a lot of water, minding my own business, not getting caught up in those little arguments that don't even make sense.
Right.
But just... And also surrounding yourself with people who are better than you, obviously. So because I think that's a better challenge than just sitting around guys who won't make you better. So and constantly asking questions, constantly researching, but at the same time keeping in mind that I have to rest. So anytime that I had to sleep, I can always take a nap anywhere. So just having a healthy balance of the two, not overdoing it and also not underdoing it.
And I think part of taking time out to not code, switching off your laptop and just immersing yourself in nature and physical activity is important. One thing that was interesting recently was a Nigerian developer. His visa got denied. I think he was trying to fly out for a conference. And that's something that a lot of Nigerian developers are experiencing, African developers specifically. So, we want to travel, we want to expose ourselves, we want to go on trips and, meet our next business partners, meet our next employers, our next employees, but travel restrictions, especially for African developers, it's a big problem. So what's your take on that? What do you think can be done? Who is responsible? Should we plan ahead as African developers? If we know that there's a conference coming up 6 months ahead of time, how can we solve that problem?
I'm very passionate about conferences because that's why you get to see ideas that are outside of what you're working on. And you also get to see how other people think. So I think it's also our responsibility. I was talking like a Nigerian. But
shout out to our Nigerian listeners.
But I can basically say that it's our responsibility to take on what we are doing by ourselves, because the problems that are here in Africa are not the same ones that are in the Western world. Our problems are completely different. So our solutions may not be, like, let's say, for example, an application like M-Pesa, which is a money mobile app. It can only the market that has been found to be the best market for an application like M-Pesa has been Kenya. So when it was taken to other countries like in Europe and where they're used to card systems, the application wasn't working. So our problems are basically our problems. So let's not also compare ourselves to other, like the Western world, where they have basically all the technology, but our problems are so basic, our problems are so African. So let me just say that our problems are so African, and we need our own solutions for our own problems. So we need to take initiative of our own solutions. And from statistics, we can say that a lot of startups that are in Kenya, even on Twitter it was going around that a lot of startups are owned by foreigners. And that really offended me, because I think there are a lot of startups in Kenya that are also started by our own Kenyans. A company like, an agricultural company like Hardy Fresh, where they just supply vegetables around the city. And, startups like those are what inspire me to keep going. So we need our own local startups to inspire us. Even the apps that you have on your phone, they should be our own apps that cater to our own needs,
Yeah.
So we need to take control of our conferences, our applications, our own problems.
Definitely. And I think for me, one of the solutions, especially, I think his name was Prosper, the developer. So he came up with the Concatenate Africa forum. So I think part of just problem solving is trying to organize forums within Africa, African cities like Lagos, Nairobi, even reaching out to other cities as well, and just trying to reach developers where they are, especially because we lack access to a lot of things, mobility, infrastructure, internet access. So trying to localize those events, I think would allow us to just move one step forward. And eventually you'd see that people would want us to start having more forums in Nairobi, in Johannesburg, in,
somewhere where an African can actually
exactly, go. Casablanca. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this, like, what careers have really surprised you when it comes to software development that you didn't know exist that are there?
Wow, so many. I used to think that software development or software engineering is just about developing websites. But I feel like in my time at Moringa, I've learned that you can be a quality assurance engineer. You can be an implementation engineer. You can do testing. You can also be a user interface, user experience developer. So that's UI UX. There are many careers. You can be a product manager once you've developed or amassed that breadth of experience. You can also be a chief technology officer years down the line. So I think, opportunities are many. I would say that if you're looking to transition into a software career, it's definitely the future. It's the right path, especially if you have the passion. Right. So you can start something, but if you're not passionate about it, it's very hard to keep on going when the days are tough. And there are many days that are tough. And going through errors, trying to debug your code. Again, what we've spoken about, imposter syndrome, being a woman in tech. The problems are many, but that's the job of a developer. It's to find solutions.
Exactly.
So it's a very exciting career. You're never doing the same thing every day. It's not monotonous.
And you're also not restricted to one industry. You can go to health, you can go into education, wherever you want.
We've just been joined by Victor. Victor is one of our former classmates at Moringa. Really good developer. So maybe you can just introduce yourself, Victor. Tell us a bit about yourself. What got you interested in coding? How you sharpen your skills? Who is Victor?
Who is Victor? Victor. If you want me to tell you what got me into coding, it's a very long story. Maybe listeners should come and see me.
We have time.
But long story short, I was doing Forex. I started coding indicators for Forex, and in the process, I realized that I really loved coding. That's when I started now teaching myself a bit of coding. Then realized it's a very, very hard road if you especially don't have mentors. And being a very broad field, as I just walked in and had Michelle and Melissa talking about all the various fields that you can go into. If you really don't know what you want to study, teaching yourself programming is like, it's like a needle swimming in a pool. You can't exactly know where to go. So after a few months of trying to teach myself, I decided to find help, and that's how I found myself in Moringa, where I got some sense of direction, and within time I also found what I love doing, what I'm passionate about in programming. Yeah.
And what do you enjoy the most about programming as opposed to maybe any other field that you try to venture into?
That's actually a very interesting question. I think the thing that I enjoy the most in programming is the ability and even the awareness that you can create anything you have in your head. You dream of an idea, you wake up, you write code, the idea is a reality. You for instance, I'm working on something that I spent the better part of my life after high school doing manually. It was this thing that I was doing for a living. I'm currently automating all of it. So in the next 1 week, maybe when I finish the code, I'll literally be clicking a button and having all the work that I used to do done automatically for me. Now that is just a power that I can't see in any other field, honestly. So I'm contented. Coding, it's the best thing I think I've done with my life to this point.
Wow.
And how do you see technology being a solution to a lot of African problems? We're just speaking about using technology in the health sector, in education. So in your view, what problems do you think we can solve, especially African problems, using technology?
No, that's a very long list.
African problems are many.
African problems, there are so many. And almost, I think technology, I don't know to this point if there is a problem that technology can't solve. Maybe the ones that require a human touch, of which I believe people are also working on the consciousness aspect of AI. So pretty much very, very soon, maybe not in the near soon, but soon enough, also that one will be able to be solved by technology. So I think in Africa, the problem that we are facing, be it transport, be it health, be it education, and I think it can all be solved with technology. It's a very broad field. It's a very long list of problems, and they're all problems that can be solved by technology, in my opinion. There is nothing that technology can solve.
And you said AI. AI is a trend in technology. So what other trends are you seeing happening in this technology field?
In this technology field, I'd say it's mostly the transference of data for the most part. I feel like in the current day and age, there is nothing that is not digitalized. So I think the digitalization of everything is the biggest trend I think I can say. For instance, in Kenya, in Africa, you see like hospitals, for instance, they are still using local, a very mundane ways of storing the papers and nurses running around in files. But with time, I feel like it's all moving digital, and everything will be digitalized. So I think I can encompass the biggest technological movement right now as the transference from analog to digital. It will encompass everything. AI will rely upon that data to do things. Programming of websites, designing websites. Basically all technology will rely on data being online. So the digitalization of data, I feel that's the biggest technological movement that you're having, because it will enable all other technology to come to reality.
Data looks like it's like a really big field.
Data is the new currency.
Exactly.
Data and people.
Wow.
And is there any sort of last remark or parting shot that you'd have to listeners, especially the ones who are just getting into coding or have just started their first job as an entry-level developer? What is one thing or two things that you wish you knew before you started learning how to code or coding in itself?
Okay, I'm going to say one thing about what I wish I knew before I started learning code. And the other thing I'm going to say, it's an advice to people that are junior developers. Will those be okay with you?
Definitely.
Okay, so one thing I wish I knew when I was starting to learning how to code is that syntax doesn't really matter. it matters, obviously, but when you're teaching yourself how to code, syntax doesn't matter. What matters is the implementation of code. So when you're teaching yourself how to code, don't spend more than a few hours on learning the syntax of the code. If you're studying a language, just look into what is a variable, what is a list, what is this and this. Just watch a crash course on YouTube. It will be more than enough. After that, start developing actual projects. That's how you learn programming very, very fast. You learn syntax along the way, and as well, and the most importantly, you learn how to implement those syntaxes, which is really what programming is. It's the implementation of syntax. So I think that will be my greatest advice to people that are learning how to code. And the other one was, as a developer, you've already learned how to code, but maybe you don't know exactly what you want. I think the biggest advice I can give you is just go with it. You don't limit your imagination. When you think of an idea, just do a bit of research on how you can implement it, and believe me, it's implementable. So if that's what you're doing right now, think of that something that you really love. What is it that you love doing on your free time? What is it that you work that bores you? And try to implement it as code, and eventually you'll find something that you really love doing in programming, which I can almost guarantee will be solving problems.
So basically using code to solve real world problems.
Yes.
Wow.
So use your programming skills to solve real world problems. Or your own problems.
Thank you guys. Thank you for all your advice. I look forward to having you as a guest again in the next episode.
I look forward to coming in.
Definitely. So see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
See ya.